Renewed hostile actions against United States ships on the high seas in the Gulf of Tonkin have today required me to order the military forces of the United States to take action in reply.
Dr. Martin Luther King, the apostle of nonviolence in the civil rights movement, has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee.
Senator Kennedy has been shot. Is that possible? He still has the gun. The gun is pointed at me at this moment. Take a hold of his thumb and break it if you have to. We will run a we had an explosion and we are defending and we agree. Let's try our best.
People calling themselves members of the Weather Underground last night planted bombs in federal office buildings in Washington and Oakland, California.
They took the babies out of the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
Survivors of the USS Liberty are demanding a congressional investigation into what happened and acknowledgement that the Israeli Air Force bombed a U.S. intelligence Navy ship.
The death of bin Laden marks the most significant achievement to date in our nation's effort to defeat al-Qaeda.
The Taliban is taking responsibility for shooting down a U.S. helicopter. More than 30 people were killed, and there are reports this morning that most of them are U.S. Navy SEALs.
There may be a false flag incident where some ship goes down and you be used for the excuse to accelerate the next war.
If there's one thing that has unified Democrats and Republicans, and everybody in between, it's that we all hated the bank bailout.
The Department of Homeland Security is apparently on a huge ammo buying spree.
It comes out to like 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition.
Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people.
They estimated that they would have to eliminate 25 million people in these re-education centers. And when I say eliminate, I mean kill.
I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game.
From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
There is an awakening going on, and he's also been writing for Town Hall, dealing with the NSA. Of course, he was in the CIA as well, and so that gives Bob Barr a unique perspective on really the ins and outs of government and how it works. His latest article is Transparency Through a Glass Darkly. And you know, I knew that he was going to be running for Congress again, but it just like literally just hit me that he's running and we need to support him and get him in there. And people say, well, he was in the CIA, he must be bad. Ladies and gentlemen, government's all compartmentalized. And people in the military and people I know that have been in the CIA are some of the most patriotic, informed, hardworking people. It's that there's compartmentalized groups using national security covers to be able to carry out their own nefarious deeds. That's why we need transparency. And that's why he's always been a leading light in transparency. And I only raise that because it's not even really ever a controversy. I just hear, well, he says a lot of good stuff, but he's in the CIA. He's helped get a lot of good legislation passed and has helped block a lot of legislation. And we don't have Ron Paul in Congress anymore. He was in Congress, got out of Congress, got back in Congress. We need to send Bob Barr back to Congress. And I didn't mean to turn this into a campaign promotion here, but it just hit me. Well, I've got Bob Barr on. I'm about to interrogate him about the NSA and all the stuff that's going on and you know, get his take on it and how to turn it around. And I'm not even going to mention he's running for Congress. So first off, sir, glad that you're throwing your hat back in the ring. I know it's a lot of work, but we really appreciate that. And tell us about the campaign and what your goals are there in Georgia.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's a great pleasure and honor once again to be with you and your many listeners across the land. I was at a forum last night just outside of Atlanta, where my district is, and I was asked a question. You know, you served in the Congress before. You were President Reagan's U.S. attorney. You have background in the CIA. You know, you could just sort of retire and sit back and take it easy. Why are you getting back into the fray? Why are you running again for the Congress? And I said, it's simple. I love this country too much not to get back into the arena. With what I see happening, Alex, you were there. You mentioned a couple of the things just a few minutes ago that I was working on years and years ago when I was in the Congress, when we first started to learn about the abuses by NSA and the electronic surveillance, the illegal stuff going on, and what the FBI was doing through Project Carnivore and Project Echelon. And it's even worse worse nowadays. The reason why it's so important for you to continue to be out there to raise these issues, both yourself and your many guests, is because government is constantly and forever, our founding fathers understood this, looking for ways to increase its power at the expense of individual liberty. And if you let up, then it's just going to keep going and going and going. It's worse now than it was before, and that's why I want to step in there and make sure that I do my part with whatever years the good Lord has left for me on this earth to rein in government power. I mean, it's almost to the point. It's not to the point yet, but it's almost to the point where it's going to be irreversible. And I ain't going to sleep until I do everything I can to stop it.
Just following it in the news, even though the media has been trying to ignore you or attack you both, you got a good chance of winning. What do we do to help get you into Congress for our listeners? Because it doesn't matter if people don't live in Georgia. They should be supporting you however they can. Because, I mean, absolutely, you came on this show in the late 90s and so many times, dozens of times, and it was always the NSA spying, the FBI, carnivore, we got to pass a law, we got to ban this, we got to dismantle this, it's dangerous. Total tyranny. They're going to use it to oppress the press. They're going to use it to persecute political enemies. This is going to be the end of us. And really, even more than Ron Paul on the subject of NSA and FBI illegal surveillance, you were there because obviously you understand it more than most members of Congress who are just lawyers or just doctors. You know, you've been inside secret operations and things. You understand the dangers. I mean, explain to us, as you've done before, why basic freedom is based in having privacy, and without privacy, you have no freedom.
Well, very, very good point, and it's fundamentally important. And to take one of your simpler points first, the fact of the matter is we need people up there fighting for individual liberty and fighting against these encroachments by government power who have been there, who know what government is doing. I mean, I learned as an official with the CIA, just on the one hand, how important it is that we have a foreign intelligence agency like the CIA, but how equally important it is to make sure that it is kept within bounds, because it is so easy to have that power abused when it is secret. Similarly, when I served as President Reagan's U.S. attorney in Atlanta, I learned how important it is certainly to have good prosecutors to uphold their laws and protect the public. But being on the inside, excuse me, I also know just how powerful these agencies are and how easily those powers can be abused. So I really am in a unique position in many ways to tackle these problems. With regard to the privacy issue, basically what you were doing just a moment ago, Alex, in discussing how important it is to retain the right to privacy is quoting or paraphrasing Ayn Rand. As you and I have discussed previously, as Ayn Rand said in The Fountainhead toward the end of that great novel on individual freedom and individual power standing up to the government, privacy is essential to civilization. Keeping men free from other men is the essence of privacy and the essence of civilization. Without privacy, you can have no freedom. You have no civilization. You live in a communal world where everything is controlled by the community, both ideas, money, work product, and so forth. So maintaining the right to privacy, as codified, for example, in the Fourth Amendment to our Constitution, that the government cannot invade your privacy by searching your personal records, belongings, things, and homes, is essential to freedom. It's essential to liberty. Our founding fathers understood that. They understood it long before Ayn Rand wrote about it 150 years later in the 1940s. And what has been happening since the days when I worked at the CIA back in the 1970s, where we had a very clear demarcation line, very clearly demarcated between domestic and international affairs. That line has been blurred to the point where in the minds of the NSA and these folks up there like Clapper and the Brennan and the others up there, it no longer exists. They think that as long as they say we're doing something in the name of national security, as long as we're fighting terrorism, then we can do whatever we want, wherever we want, to whoever we want. And that is a philosophy, that is a recipe for tyranny.
Well, it certainly is. And then look at how they've used the NSA on Fox News the Associated Press, how they've used the IRS to persecute Tea Party pro-life groups. Now they're persecuting secret conservative Hollywood groups. I mean, this is beyond McCarthy times 10. And this is tyranny, and we need to recognize it's already here. It was Senator Ted Cruz that said that Obama is frightening, that he's terrifying, that he's dangerous. And the media tried to demonize him, but that only backfired on him because the public understands the unitary executive that's been degenerating for a while. I'm not saying Obama's going to stay in office, but they're turning the executive with the bureaucracy and the interests that run it into a 2.0 modern synthetic oligarchy or dictatorship. Those that control the presidency like a control panel, a dictatorial control panel, and then the president's kind of a window hanging there. I mean, do you agree with that analogy? And at what point are we historically? Because, I mean, even Jonathan Turley said, we're coming to the point, other folks have said in Congress, that the only option would be armed rebellion, which obviously we don't want, and the system's set up for that, and it would cause a civil war. So what do you do then, and what point have we reached, Congressman?
What we do is, first of all, at least within my bailiwick, running for Congress, we need to get people into Congress and demand that our folks in the Congress stand up for what Congress is supposed to stand up for. Congress is not a rubber stamp for a president, despite what Harry Reid might think or what Nancy Pelosi might believe. Congress has to stand up to the president, regardless of the political party of the president, because they are protecting, they are in the vanguards, one of the protectors of our fundamental liberty. And part of what Congress has an absolute responsibility to do, and they time and time again in modern years have failed to do this, and that is to stand up to presidents who basically slap Congress around, say, I'm not going to do what the law says. I'm going to sign an executive order and do what I want. I'm not going to do what you, the Congress, have directed by lawfully passed legislation. And Congress sits back, and what do, Alex? They say, thank you, sir. May we have another, sir. Every time that happens, we move further down the road toward consolidating absolute power in the presidency and weakening the fundamental pillars of our representative democracy, because Congress cedes power to the president when they do not stand up to the president.
Sure.
That's the problem that we see over and over and over again, and it happens under Republican presidents the same as Democratic presidents, except this one is much worse.
Now, expanding on that, Ted Cruz called him frightening and dangerous. We just pulled up the Houston Chronicle article on that. How would you describe Obama? I mean, what is the word for it? Because it doesn't matter if it's energy or guns or borders, legalizing the illegals, getting Obamacare passed and saying he'll selectively enforce it, and Congress says, okay, and he'll selectively decide what to do with the NSA, okay. Congress passing the buck. And then the state of Texas was about to pass a law unanimously in the House, so they killed it in the Senate 2 years ago, as you know. And then Obama said, I will have F-16s. This was in the news. And it wasn't even a big deal. It was just a footnote. We will blockade aircraft, and no aircraft will be allowed to fly in Texas. I mean, this is like the stuff that started the Civil War. That's why I'm going there. I mean, this is already getting crazy.
It is no longer hypothetical. When you have statements like that, and when you have statements like the president issued the other day, basically throwing down the gauntlet to the Congress, saying, I don't care what you do. I have a pen. I can order people to do what I want, regardless of what Congress says, regardless of what the laws of this country say. And Congress just sits back and does nothing. We, the people, have to rise up and demand that they do something. Get these guys out of office that are in there who just sit back sort of, and sleepwalk through their terms in the Congress. We need people that will fight, and I'm not saying I'm the only one. There are some other good folks up there and some good candidates around the country. But whether you're talking about immigration law, whether you're talking about national security in Benghazi, whether you're talking about the fundamental right to privacy and allowing NSA to violate the Constitution and the laws of this land, we need people up there that understand these issues and have the backbone, as I've proven I did when I stood up to Bill Clinton and led the impeachment of that scoundrel a generation ago. We need these people in the Congress, and that's why I'm running.
And we've got Obama saying things like he's good at killing people. I mean, even the people I know that are Army and Navy and Special Forces and Marines, I mean, the guys, no one, even if he killed people with his bare hands, you don't make statements like, I'm good at killing people. I think it shows a narcissistic, really amateurism of Obama, and it frightens me to think that these people are so into red carpets, so into the jets, so into the month-long vacations, to know that even if we had a corrupt elite, if they weren't so reckless, it wouldn't be as scary. I mean, I really have never been a big fan of the theory that it's a government incompetence theory, but more and more you see the foreign policies uncoordinated. It's crazy. I mean, funding Al-Qaeda to attack Syria. What's your take on that?
Well, it's on the one hand, one could be charitable, as you uncharacteristically were just a moment ago, in saying this is just amateurism. What they're doing, you could sort of chalk it up to, well, they just don't really understand the Middle East. They don't understand the international affairs. I mean, after all, this guy was nothing but a community organizer and a faux constitutional law professor. The fact of the matter is, I think it goes deeper than that.
Oh, I agree.
It goes deeper than simply they're amateurs. It's worse than they simply don't know what they're doing. They have a worldview that is 180 degrees at odds with what the vast majority of our citizens believe and understand and want to see in the world, and that is an America that is strong, that is the shining city on the hill, that carries weight in whatever we do, that is not does not have to kowtow to communist China because they have $1.3 trillion of our debt in their pocket that they can hold over our head. That's the sort of thing that costs us dearly, even in non-economic terms as well, because it reduces the flexibility and the options that are available to the United States of America in dealing with these foreign problems and crises. As long as we remain a major debtor nation, we will not carry the weight in the world that Ronald Reagan did.
Well, that's right. And just to qualify what I was saying so it's clear, obviously they're consciously Cloward and Piven, domesticate the public, centralize the power, give favors to insiders, pick winners and losers. We know the big city mafia Democratic Party disease that's the worst out there. The Republican disease of the neocons is bad, but I mean, there's nothing worse than this group who, they're not even socialists like they claim. They're just gangsters. I'm saying there's an amateurism that I see coming through in the recklessness of what they're doing. Sure, they have a method of the madness. I'm just seeing the playboy nature of it, and I'm trying to quantify what I'm saying. There's just something very creepy about a bunch of gangsters up there running the American empire, and very frightening.
It is frightening because they can not only waste the great legacy that we have in this country, but the very continued existence of us as a major nation is at stake. I mean, it could not, Alex, be more serious. And here again, that's why it's so important for you to continue to be out there bringing this message, why, to follow up on a point you made earlier, why it's so important for citizens and voters all across this land, whatever state they live in, whatever congressional district they're in, to support my candidacy, because just like there are members of Congress and candidates from other parts of the country that I support, I need the support of Americans from all over the country to go to barrcongress.com to help us out, because the votes that I take, the positions that I take, will help Americans all across this great land. Similarly, Ted Cruz. I don't live in Texas. My mom does, but I support him, even though I'm not in his district in the state of Texas.
Exactly. And let me expand on how important this is, folks. Bob Barr said everything Ted Cruz is saying 15 years ago or 20 years ago. And it's just that back then, the dinosaur media was still dominant. And so he could barely get on CNN, get on Fox sometimes, show the message. People weren't ready to hear this libertarian, constitutional, truly conservative, common sense message. And Ben Bob Barr was popular, but just not iconic. I'm telling you, you get back in Congress now, it'll be like having another Rand Paul, another Ted Cruz, but it's like bringing back, Babe Ruth, back to life, basically. And
no, don't get carried away, Alex. I'm liking too much of what you're saying there. Don't get too carried away. I mean,
no, I'm serious. You're going to be
in there with some outstanding Americans that we need to continue to support.
No, but I mean,
and Ron Paul.
Exactly. I'm just saying Ron Paul never got his due when he was there until the end. And then he became a rock star of liberty. That's what we need. And I'm saying we need to get you back in Congress to be a major leader. And the zeitgeist is there. The climate is right. I mean, I'm not just putting, perfume on this thing. I'm sure that's why to throw your hat in the ring. If you get in there, you're going to really be able to have a bully pulpit and really get in there and do some filibustering, to expose what's happening.
And one of the it might be a minor point to some people or inside the beltway, so to speak, but it's also very important for people to recognize that when I do go back to the Congress in the House, I keep the 8 years of seniority that I accumulated earlier, which is extremely important to do what you just said, and that is to get things done to move our agenda forward up there.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, folks, if you study Congress, Bob Barr back in, that is and then to help formulate more leaders, more libertarian patriots to just take this country back. I mean, we can do it if we get behind people like Bob Barr, folks. So, again, go to Bob Barr's congressional website. We're going to put it back on the screen for folks, and I'm going to give you that URL. It is absolutely essential that people go there. Congressman, tell folks how they can go to your website.
Just it's a very simple www.barrcongress, B-A-R-R Congress.com, barrcongress.com.
Can't miss that, I tell you. And we're out of time. You got to promise to come back soon to talk about all the other issues. A selfish question. Whatever happened with the lawsuit, because I know you got the intel that Matt Drudge, Alex Jones, Infowars.com, that we were being demonized and on these lists, and they were trying to declare national security and stuff. Did we ever find out what the TSA is up to?
That case, I mean, it's like the old case in Bleak House by Charles Dickens, Jarndyce v. Jarndyce. It just drags on for generation after generation. We're still engaged after about 3 years of litigation with the FOI trying to get the information on what the TSA did 3 years ago, as I think it was right around Thanksgiving time.
Symbols are powerful, and the globalists have hijacked the symbols of America. They've turned them into their own symbols. Well, we are restoring the idea of the true republic, not the counterfeit globalist empire, by promoting the icon George Washington and others. That's why we're rolling out an 100% made in America line of incredible pro-liberty apparel. We are repopularizing liberty. We are helping fellow Americans rediscover what made this country great. We are the spirit of 1776. We are 1776 worldwide. We are all brothers and sisters in arms in the animating contest of liberty in the long march towards humanity's ultimate destiny of freedom. Visit madein1776.com today and vote with your dollars to promote truly made in America, high-quality products, and promote the ideals of liberty. We are inches from losing, okay? But we're inches from winning. And so, I mean, this is a war. I mean, my whole life, okay? Because my children, 3 children, 2 daughters and a son, they don't have a future. And my family's been here since 1620, both sides on the Mayflower, okay? I mean, I'm all in for America. And people watch football games and want their team to win, and they get upset about it. This is 100 times that, and that's the attitude we've got to have here. I mean, I'm in it to win it. That's why I'm aggressive, because we got to get people out of their days. And so I start talking to somebody like Bob Barr, and I was getting him on about the NSA and stuff, and who was running for Congress, and it kind of clicked. Wow. Think about what it's going to be like to have him back in there. It's going to be explosive. The climate has shifted. There is a tide in the affairs of men when taken at the flood leads on to fortune, Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. But our fortune isn't money and power. Our fortune is a future. Our fortune is saving this country and the world. I mean, that's the stakes. And Bob Barr, I mean, it sounds sensational, but if the shoe fits, wear it. I mean, I think that's where we are historically. I think people should really understand the stakes. What are the stakes right now? You were telling me off air, you're excited, you're in the lead, you need to stay in the lead, you're probably going to win. but people need to get behind you and that you are going to knock heads. Repeat what you said, and then where are we historically?
Well, the one thing I've been called a lot of things over the years, particularly by the liberal media. But one thing I've never been called is a member of the establishment. I live to shake up the establishment because the establishment seeks to exert control over individuals, and that's the one word that always comes to my mind in talking about Washington. It's all about the big C, control. And I am excited about running. We are in the lead, but we need to get your listeners and our supporters, wherever they are, excited and motivated and active, because you can be in the lead one day and not in the lead the next day. And I need to stay in the lead in order to get back up there to shake things up in Washington. I don't want to say it'll be fun to shake things up in Washington, but Alex, it will be, to get back up there. I mean, I remember 16 years ago to the day, I was on the floor of the Senate arguing to remove President Clinton from office. I mean, that's the kind of drive, that's the kind of commitment, that's the kind of backbone that we need up there, willing to take on all comers.
Yeah, because let's just say it. I mean, a lot of people died that went up against Clinton. A lot of airplanes blew up. A lot of people got shot in the head 5 times. And it does take backbone to try to impeach somebody when you're going up against gangsters like this. And we've got to get rid of the Clinton mafia. And I think what you're hinting at is if we put you back into Congress, you are going to start investigating, bringing charges of impeachment up in the House.
Alex, I was with some folks just recently, and I pulled out of a file in my office the House resolution, that I introduced on November 5th of 1997. That was the very first official inquiry of impeachment filed against Bill Clinton. And that was mine, and at the time I think I had 18 co-sponsors was all in November of 1997. And what I did is I took that document, figuratively kind of dusted it off, added a little bit of language to it, and darned if it doesn't sound pretty good with Barack Obama's name in there.
Oh, man. So I think it's safe to say if you get back in Congress, the evidence is already there. You're going to start looking into the inquiry to begin getting the co-sponsors for indicting the president in the House, and I guess he'll be tried in the Senate.
I think it really has come to that. Now, it's not something I like to say. When I left the House before, after we impeached Clinton, my hope was that we would never have to go through that process again. But we do. We do need to stand up for the rule of law. We do need to stand up for proper separation of powers. And we do need to stand up and tell a president we have an attorney general that won't do it. We need people in the Congress who will stand up and say, Mr. President, you are not above the law. You cannot ignore the law. You cannot simply violate the law, violate the Constitution, because from a policy standpoint, you deem it appropriate to do so. We don't operate that way in America, and you are not going to be permitted any longer to do that.
Well, look at Walter Jones from North Carolina, who's a frequent guest. He's got the bill introduced that if they continue to back al-Qaeda and bomb more countries, that impeachment will begin. But no one's got the nerve when he's the clearest president to be impeached ever. It makes Richard Nixon look like an angel, and I'm no fan of Richard Nixon. And then I look at the Democrats persecuting people and going after Republican governors and people for stuff that's questionable if it's even really illegal, endorsing vitamin companies and stuff. I mean, give me a break, like we're seeing in Virginia. And it's really frightening when you see how the Democrats operate, trying to indict all their foes, trying to send, a Republican congressman from Texas to jail for totally legal PACs.
What they did to Tom DeLay was absolutely outrageous, and the prosecutor, whose name I forget there, the prosecutor, just kept going and going and going.
Ronnie Earl.
Tom DeLay. And finally, I guess just retired or whatnot, was not held accountable. And thank goodness, Tom DeLay was finally vindicated in the courts of appeal there. But the man lost his job. His reputation was ruined for a period of time there. He lost tremendous income, I'm sure. And as Ray Donovan, the former labor secretary, said years ago, tell me, where do I go to get my reputation back? It's just outrageous that these people can do these things and get away with them. And I'm just tired of letting Obama get away with what he's doing.
Well, that's what's scary. I mean, there's been Republican leadership that does corrupt stuff and political persecutions, but it's so rare compared to the Democrats. And, I mean, they can indict a ham sandwich with all these, you know, I mean, they have one county here, you know, Austin, where I live, that they launch attacks all over the place. Bloomberg used New York to launch all these frivolous attacks, while they are just wallowing in corruption with Solyndra and Benghazi and Fast and Furious. And then I see this attorney general going around indicting Republicans for having dirt under their fingernails and really questionable stuff. And I mean, it's just insane. It makes me scared at a fundamental level. They could set me up. I'm totally clean. But who knows what they could make up? I mean, you really see the dirty tricks. That's why I then admire someone like you, who I know they see as a threat, on the air saying what no one else is willing to say, because they're scared. And because they know, wow, if they can indict people for getting loans because they were talking about endorsing a supplement company, I mean, they can do anything. And it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. Well, listen, we need to get you into Congress. The website, we'll put it up on screen for folks, barrcongress.com. We need to get him in there, and we need to get other people that have shown they're fighters. But listen, this is the guy that brought the impeachment. This is the guy that did, and I was just thinking back now and no one's going to sit there in the controlled media and go, look what Bob Barr did. Bob Barr has courage. And I didn't mean to turn this interview into a big endorsement, but I just started, you know, having that epiphany. Wow, this is really a good card to play. So, Congressman, I'm going to say Congressman because we're going to pray and hope you get in there, and it looks like you can, but we don't want to count our chickens before they're hatched. Any other points you'd like to add on other issues in the country and things you like to do when you get into Congress?
Oh, gee, there's so many things I'd like to do with Obamacare and the Federal Reserve and so forth, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about those. I do hope people will not only go to the website, as you mentioned, Barr Congress, but also friend us on Facebook. I mean, that's an important way to get the message out and to show people that they support what I'm trying to do and what I'm talking about and what you're talking about, to friend us on Facebook as well.
All right. Well, Congressman Bob Barr, thank you so much for the time, and look forward to talking to you throughout the campaign.
Thank you so much for having me once again on your show, Alex. You take care, and God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. Well, there goes Congressman, former Congressman, soon to be Congressman again, Bob Barr, just lately launching his new campaign, and very exciting. And again, I was very tired today. I have allergies. Everybody knows that. And then I just got energized because it was like clicking. I'm talking to Bob Barr, who fought the NSA, fought the FBI and carnivore, fought the omnibus crime bills, fought all the gun bills, beat a bunch of them, and started the impeachment of Bill Clinton with David Shippers and all the rest of them. It's just like, it's weird to be talking to these historical figures, and no one in the mainstream media is going to tell you. I mean, listen, the Clintons murdered people, okay? Okay? And I was talking to him off air, and he was talking about impeachment and kind of breathing in when he said it, because, I mean, let me tell you something. You got to have big huevos to actually be well-spoken and threatening to the establishment and have a really good, clean background like Bob Barr, and then go up against them. Because they're scared of people like Bob Barr, folks. They're scared of Ted Cruz. They're scared of Rand Paul. These are warriors, ladies and gentlemen, who are in danger and who are being attacked. And I hope you realize I don't want your thanks, because I'm in a fight here with you. We're bailing the water together. But you need to know, too, that I am under attack, and that just all sorts of stuff going on. And it's par for the course. I expect it, and I quite frankly don't like it, but that's what it is. Because I know that comes with the territory. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.